So let's go over. The British are going to start raiding in the colonists. They start passing things that the colonists don't like the Quartering Act. The British could show up at your house. Okay, they could knock on the door because they had to station so many soldiers in the colonies to keep everything running smoothly that the British could technically knock on your door and say, you need to put us up for the night. We need a bed to sleep in. We need a meal. Okay? Just imagine someone in a military uniform coming to your house tonight, just knocking on the door and saying, complete stranger, guy with a gun, just knocking on the door, walking in and saying, yeah, I need a place to sleep tonight. And you would have to let him in. That was the Quartering Act. Now, the colonists were so angry at this, and when eventually they do get their independence and we write the Constitution, this will be the Third Amendment. No quartering of troops. You don't have to let soldiers into your house, okay? Another one, the British used something called writs of assistance to make sure you were buying British goods. So they could search your house. If they thought you were doing something wrong and you were buying French goods or Spanish goods or something that was non-British, they didn't need any cause or evidence to search your house. Today, if the police want to come over your house, they need proof that you're doing something wrong, or they need some kind of evidence, okay? And then they have to take that evidence and go to a judge and get a search warrant. That's why when you watch an episode of Cops and they kick in the door, cops are usually flashing a search warrant when they go in through the door. The British didn't have to do that. If they thought you were doing anything wrong, they'd just come search your house. This is going to get the colonists really upset. This will be the basis for your Fourth Amendment. No illegal search and seizure. You want to search my property? You need a search warrant. Stamp agents are going to get messed with. Okay? Groups like the Sons of Liberty here, led by Samuel Adams, are going to start tarring and feathering stamp agents, which is really going to burn. Okay? They pour liquid hot oil on you and basically feather you. So some stamp agents actually died. Some were actually hung as well. To the Americans, these guys were patriots. To the British, these guys were terrorists, okay, terrorizing stamp agents. And Samuel Adams is not to be confused with Samuel Jackson. Boston Massacre, all right, British troops opened fire on a crowd right out here in front of the State House, okay. The first person killed in the Boston Massacre was a slave by the name of Crispus Attucks. Now, it's not like the British opened fire on an unarmed crowd. The colonists were really taunting the British soldiers and throwing glass bottles and snowballs and rocks and holding up clubs and threatening to beat the soldiers, so a group opened fire. And then the Boston Tea Party happened, in which the Sons of Liberty, dressed up like American Indians, went on board the boat and dumped all this British tea out into the harbor. And after that happened, the British got really angry. They're like, all right, enough's enough. We're going to rein you in, colonists. So they passed the Coercive Acts. The colonists called these the Intolerable Acts. And they felt like they were being raped, like shows in this cartoon, by British policy. Okay? And in this cartoon, a Mohawk Indian, who's supposed to represent the colonists who are in on the Boston Tea Party, are being taken advantage of by British policy, like the Boston Port Bill, which closed Boston Harbor. And basically, Boston was under military law until they paid back everything they had thrown into the Boston Harbor from the Tea Party. So after the Tea Party, the First Continental Congress, this is where things start moving, all right, is going to form, and they're going to meet in Philadelphia. Representatives from 12 of the 13 colonies, Georgia didn't show up, meet in Philadelphia. They're like, all right, what are we going to do? Boston's being picked on, although Boston was really taking the fight to the British. That's where most of these things happened. They agreed to send the king a letter, a declaration of rights to the king to protest Great Britain's policies, and they said they'd meet again the following year. They are eventually going to become America's first national government, this Continental Congress. When they meet again the following year, the Second Continental Congress, they begin meeting in May of 1775, more than 1 month after the Battle of Lexington and Concord, which is where the Revolutionary War started. The war is going to break out, and they're going to be our first lawmaking body nationally. All right, some of the delegates were John Hancock, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Patrick Henry. Okay. The Second Continental Congress, one of the big things they did, they created the Declaration of Independence, in which was our letter basically saying, we're not British anymore. We don't want to be British, okay? And they also created our first government, the Articles of Confederation, which is going to turn out to be a completely ineffective government. The Second Continental Congress also creates the Continental Army and appoints your future president to be the commander of this army, George Washington. He's going to be the guy who's going to defend the colonies against the British, because we are at open war now. And the Revolutionary War is going to go something like this, in which the Death Star will be...
Please excuse the interruption. Ms. Compton, if you're still on campus, could you call Adele at extension 4044? Thank you.
Okay, so Revolutionary War will go something like this. Lots of lightsabers, and by something like this, I mean it'll look nothing like this, but I thought it was a funny picture. Declaration of Independence is presented by the Second Continental Congress. The team that wrote it included John Adams. Jefferson did the majority of the writing, and Benjamin Franklin as well. But Jefferson took a lot of his ideas from John Locke, okay? Mainly the work of Jefferson, it was broken up into 3 different parts, okay? The first part talked about why we were breaking away, and it borrowed heavily from John Locke, Life, Liberty, and Pursuit of Happiness. Then we talk about what the natural rights of man are, and then the final part was then we talked about the list of grievances against the king. Jefferson basically just has this whole list of things he thought that King George III did wrong, okay? And then finally we wrap it up with a statement of colonial unity and that we are officially separating from Britain. Anyone who signed this declaration is now considered a traitor in the eyes of the British Crown. It was signed July the 4th, 1776. That's why we barbecue and buy illegal fireworks outside of county lines every 4th of July now. Okay, you're celebrating your country's birthday. All right, we'll call it with that. We will give you another video later on to move you further along into the note packet. Okay, that is it.